What is your top election priority?
The thing I'm most worried about right now is jobs. I'm thinking about my kids, and I'm mostly worried about the economy. So, I love the way that Trudeau has supported the country during COVID, but I'm concerned about what's coming up next, and house prices skyrocketing, and a couple of my kids are out of jobs. And so I think recovering the economy and how that's going to go.
We need to stop thinking about the economy and think about everyone else, because we're not going to have a planet left to save for anyone else to care about if we continue to think about our economy.
Yeah, financing. I think the budget's in trouble, and I think they got to cut the spending. It's just getting out of hand.
Oh, I guess getting the country and our province and the country out of the financial state that we're in right now.
I would like more transparency and more honesty, and I think for the majority, I'd like to see more Canadians speak up and not be a silent majority.
I'd like to see more advocacy for disabled people's rights. I definitely like to see more money spent on education, like basic just human rights altogether.
Yeah, I would say childcare and stuff for the economy.
I think as a 22-year-old, it's got to be the environment. 100% that was something that needs to be addressed, and that's likely where my vote's going to go, is where I think I can do the most good in terms of pushing for cleaner space for everybody.
For me, it's leadership. Yeah, I think leadership's really important, especially right now, coming out of the pandemic and getting our feet back on the ground and getting things going again.
Keeping Canada healthy with a firm plan for moving forward, and justice seems to be a very strong thing right now, especially with all the things that are going on with the residential schools. So those would be two of my top priorities.
My top election priority? Really, it's going to be COVID recovery. What are we doing to recover this country? What are we doing to change society? We've seen all the flaws that we've had going into COVID. What can we do to change it, to make it better for everybody coming out of this? There's so much we could change. We know what the problems are. Let's fix it. We've got a chance to do it now.
I would say fiscal stability and sensibility coming out of the COVID years.
And I would try and encourage politicians to sensibly take the longer-term view, and that's where you get into discussions about climate change, but making that work in a new economy.
Probably better, like universal, like healthcare in general, like the dental care. I think that should be more included into healthcare in general, is my main thing, like dental care and the things that aren't generally included in healthcare that we have now.
Homelessness. To be honest with you, I've come from the West Coast, I've lived on the East Coast, and no matter where you go, homelessness is a real big issue. And the number one issue that I feel needs to be addressed is that. There's people sleeping in tents, there's rent is, outrageous. People are working, two family people are working jobs, and they can't even afford to have a home. At least on the West Coast, that's how it is.
Anything to do with Indigenous rights and searching all of the places to find more children. That's really important to me. And also, trying to think what else. Basically, like COVID and, making the situation better in Ontario, getting more funding for public health. Those are the things that matter most to me.
Climate and the environment, but yeah, I feel like an integrated voter, to be honest. Like I also care a lot about the economy and the integration of those two things. And I care about like our foreign policy and little stuff like that too. And I live up north, so I care about kind of northern issues, infrastructure and housing and things that the federal government can affect.
I think obviously there's a big thing now around reconciliation. That needs to continue with Indigenous nations. I think as well climate change is something that is concerning us all. We've just been through that massive heat dome here in Western Canada, and I don't know what we can do. We should do our best to mitigate that. I think diversification of the economy around Canada, moving away from perhaps some of the resource-based stuff we've done in the past, is important, whether that's oil and gas or whether that's logging or whatever. But we need to look at different ways of generating GDP basically in Canada.
The OD rate gets put in the back burner like it's an everyday event, and COVID was bad, but the OD rate's getting worse and worse every day. Mm-hmm. And it's a problem with no solution, and it's like unless that broken car ends up in your backyard, you don't have to deal with it. It's just a news show that goes by. But if you live here, you're starting to watch this OD rate just become an everyday event. And the younger generations get tagged like no tomorrow. And at the end of the day, who's responsible for the homeless and the drug addiction? Like who's taking the ownership of this?